Son of a bitch.
Mic check one, mic check one.
Get back here. Mic check two, mic check two.
Mic check three, mic check three.
Kyle and the wandering microphone. And welcome to the UGO podcast, whitewash edition, I guess.
The Peyton edition.
I think I'm gonna workshop that name a little bit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know how it's gonna play on the thing, but yes.
Please, how can this show get any wider?
How can it? But, who is talking about the ethnic cleansing here today? Well, it's me, Nick, the Merc with a mic, and my fellow Unapologists.
Travis.
And Kyle.
We're never, man, these opening conversations are never not awkward, aren't they?
No, they're
always,
fine. It's fine.
Always the weirdest shit. But yes, what we're going to talk about today is we're actually going to be reviewing some of the movies that have had controversies, slight controversies for some of them behind them. We're talking about Power Rangers and Ghost in the Shell, both appropriating Japanese culture. But I guess one was already doing that from the start.
One was doing it for like 2 decades, dude.
What do you call that? That's copying a copy of a copy, right?
Right. Like, at that point, it doesn't even matter.
I don't know, but we will talk about that. Of course, we got to talk about some April Fool's junk that happened this past week. We gotta cover that. That was pretty interesting. We had a big drop April Fool's thing we got to talk about, and of course, we have the trailers. Not too many trailers today because it's a Tuesday recording for us, but we got the Undead. We have a more Undead we need to talk about. So with that, should we just get right into it?
Sure.
All right. Well, considering it's going to be Kyle said to me that this might be his last show for a little bit.
Yeah.
He's going to have
my brother-in-law, his cancer came back. Mm-hmm. It spread to his lymph nodes, and I need to spend a little bit more time with family, and that's not the only bad news.
No.
Cancer-related. My lead singer from my old band also has lymphoma, early stage, but it's still a big deal, so I need to focus my attention on other things for now.
And on that dour note, I'm thinking about getting checked, because obviously the common link is that you must irradiate some sort of radiation.
Yeah, everybody around me gets cancer.
Yeah,
Kyle, why can't you have, like, the superpower creating cancer radiation? I mean, come on.
No, we don't get superpowers from radiation anymore.
Oh, that's right.
It's all gene splicing now.
Kyle.
That's what's all the rage.
Into gene splicing.
But yes, that's very sad, and we will be missing you here on the cast, on the pod, as I like to call it, since 30 seconds ago.
And I'll miss it.
But considering it's going to be Kyle's last one for a while, and we don't know when he will be back, I decided to get a special guest to come back and do the announcements.
Oh, no.
Just for you.
What? Oh,
just
God.
for you. It's your favorite. It's your 100% favorite. Mr. Hubert from Family Guy.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Come in, please.
Yeah, you can come in. Just make sure you sit next to Travis.
No.
All right, yeah, take the mic, all right? Oh, well, hey there, guys. Hi, Kyle. Long time no see. Oh, yes. I believe you two have known each other for quite a while. Yes, some would even say biblically. A biblical long time. Anyway, I'm going to read some of the announcements here today. And that includes, we got to mention the UGO of our logo, which was designed by the lovely Tanner Hackle Designs. Created that for us. If you need some graphic design work done, you can go to his site and he'll do some great work for you too. He did some great work for me, that's for sure. And of course, Isabella, the derpy little dragon, was done for us by the lovely Kelly Maine. If you need any artwork or commission work done, she's definitely a great option for you. And, of course, we always want to mention the social medias. I mean, I'm not up on them much. I mean, I Facebook stalk Kyle every once in a while. But that's apparently a little different. You can follow the podcast on the UGO's Facebook page, though, or their Twitter, which is at UGO Podcast, or their Instagram. It's the same thing. Just don't go to my Instagram. That's some dog stuff. But anyway, if you really want to help out Kyle, you can write a 5-star review on the podcast on iTunes. And that would really help him out with visibility. And, of course, you can, whatever goes in that review box, they'll read on the air word for word. And that's Nick's guarantee. Anyway, that's it for me. See you, hopefully I'll see you later. And, when you're sleeping at night tonight, Kyle, I'll be thinking of you.
I thank you, Hubert. I thank you. And now the restraining order is no longer suspended. You have to get out.
All right. So that was a great temporary leave. Thank you, Mr. Hubert from Family Guy. Oh, fantastic. The guy has a busy schedule. Glad he came down and was able to do that for us.
Busy of stalking children?
Oh, yeah. I did. Is that a school bus outside? Is that he's getting on?
We live a little too close to children to actually have him here.
That is a lawsuit. I sure hope I'm not liable for that. Okay. Anyway, yeah, should we just get into the news and the stories? But let me ask this: how you guys been doing? What's been going on with you guys? I know Kyle's had a bit of a downer.
Yeah.
But anything happen with you guys?
Well, I mean, I could be home playing Persona 5 right now, but I'm here with you assholes. So there's that.
So you finally broke down, you got it, huh?
I bought it like 2 days ago, man.
Yeah.
It was downloaded last night. I just had to wait.
I have an imagination that Travis is just like, I'm playing so many other games right now, I shouldn't buy. How is it in my hand right now? Like he just didn't even realize, like it went from one to the other.
The digital copy actually just materialized
in his hand.
It 3D printed onto his hand.
That's impressive.
Like Tron just came out of nowhere. But he did have to battle on a light cycle grid to get it.
That's the best part.
That was pretty good.
I was the red car.
Well, you know, everyone does need to appease the users, apparently.
Yes.
I don't know my Tron. I don't know my Tron well enough to make a reference on it. But anyway, yeah. So did you guys see any of those April Fool pranks that are going around? No, nothing.
No, I worked a double on April Fool's, so
yeah.
Unless a cow was going to do something to me.
That'd be funny. Well, that usually just kicks shit in your mouth, so.
Yeah, I stayed off the internet because, like, the internet is a scary place even when it's not an April Fool's Day, without everyone trying to trick you. I think one of my favorites was Pornhub's, which was mean. But man, it was pretty funny.
They do that actually almost every year, I think.
Do they do that every year?
I think so.
I didn't hear it only this year because apparently if you went on Pornhub and you played a video, it would say thank you for sharing and a big Facebook message would come up. So it would make you think that you just shared it to all your friends on Facebook. So that was pretty funny. We had a couple other like casting announcements, like they were saying Matt Damon was going to be the new Venom or new Eddie Brock or something. Bunch of other bullshit news and stuff like that, you know.
I know the guys who make Guild Wars 2, the online game, always do fake patch notes every single time. They're always hilarious.
Of course, Russia had an interesting one. The Russian embassy. Their answering machine. If you answer them, they weren't on hold, and they actually told you like, well, if you want help, if you need us to help overthrow or interfere in one of your elections, press 1 now. So on one level, I'm like, wow, they are really flippant about that. But on a second level, man, I kind of respect it.
It's kind of funny.
Like, I kind of respect it on a level of just, like, balls. I like how flagrant it is. I kind of like it. But I think my favorite one had to be that Rick and Morty's April Fool's prank, which was actually the thing was it wasn't an April Fool's prank. They actually dropped the episode 1 of season 3 premiere out of nowhere on April Fool's Day.
Surprise!
The only thing was that it supplanted Samurai Jack. I didn't get a new Samurai Jack last weekend, so
dicks.
But we did get a new Rick and Morty, and it dropped this crazy episode. And it was funny because I saw it up on the Facebook pages, and everyone was all like, "No, seriously, I'm watching it right now. It's not a joke. Like, it's seriously, the episode is up and running." And they ran a big marathon of it on Adult Swim, like that whole night. So that was super funny. Again, it was another cool episode that I really liked. It gets so dark. It gets so dark at the end. Maybe when we're done with our Game of Thrones rewatch, I'll have you watch Rick and Morty with me, because I gotta tell you, man, that show is hilarious. It gets more and more funny. Like, I seriously don't know which one I like more, Archer or this.
Gotta get swifty.
Gotta get swifty. Oh,
Take off your pants and your panties. Shit on the floor.
Hey, I know which song we're using as a break this episode. Is that Water Tea? Come down to man, but all the obscure references. But yeah, since we were talking about Ghost in the Shell and Power Rangers, the movies today, why don't we open up with the box office? Should we talk a little bit about the box office?
Might as well.
So yeah, apparently the what came first this weekend was Boss Baby. Boss Baby was indeed the boss. It made about $50 million in its first 3 days.
Wow.
So and I think the budget was relatively low for an animated film of that type. DreamWorks, probably a pretty big win for them. I would imagine it's going to have legs. You know, those kids movies usually do. So since. But Smurfs: The Lost Village comes out next weekend, so that probably will hurt it a little bit.
Yeah,
we'll probably push
another lackluster kids film.
What happened this year? Because I swear to God, February and early March and even January, it was like I was watching good movie after good movie after good movie. I thought I was like, man, it's not summer yet. What's going on? And now suddenly March has all been like, nope. Here's where the disappointments are.
It's got to get bad eventually.
Yeah. And then we have debuting in second is...
Hey, The Fate of the Furious is coming out soon.
Oh, no, it actually debuts in third. Okay. No, I'm thinking of the other story. But yes, Fate and the Furious. I'm so excited. Beauty and the Beast is in second. That was
Not too surprising.
Its domestic total is now $395 million. It's a big hit for Disney again. I still have not seen it. Kyle saw it, though. What were your quick thoughts on it, Kyle?
Meh. I mean, really, it's too long.
It's too long?
It's too long. It's 2.5 hours, and this is supposed to be something.
2.5?
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I believe it's 2.5 hours, yeah.
Whereas the original is like 90 minutes.
It's like 90 minutes, dude.
They added a lot from the play, so it's actually geared almost more towards adults. But the creature, I want to say, the furniture is over-designed. You can kind of see it from Lumiere's design and stuff. It's kind of like cluttered. The singing I thought was fine. I don't fucking know what the nostalgia critic was talking about. The singing was fine. She's an alto, so she has to sing it at an alto tone. It's fine.
Fuck altos.
Well,
yeah, they added a whole bunch of other songs, but they didn't add the one that everybody hates from the special edition.
Good. That's a good move on them. Well, that's interesting.
I thought it was okay, but we both Tessa and I both kind of exited the theater going like,
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure I'll end up seeing it then, because I've always been like, if you're not going to remake it substantially, I'm not sure how it could hold up to the original anyway. But what's in third here? Debuting at a distant third is
distant third, yeah.
Ghost in the Shell, which earned $19 million in its opening weekend.
Ow.
And for those good effects, that's going to cost them.
And that's $110 million on their budget.
Ooh.
So worldwide, it is sitting at $60 million.
Oh, wow.
Because, well, it is yet to open in China and Japan.
Okay.
It might make it then.
But it might make it, so it might make it today.
It might break even at the end of the day, but...
Still, that is a shitty domestic box office.
Oh, that is a shitty...
That is piss poor. I'm not sure if the marketing was... It's probably a lot of factors. The early whitewashing controversy didn't help. Critics were not very kind to it. Like, it got pretty mixed reviews.
It is honestly mixed. It's like 45%, I think, on Rotten Tomatoes or something.
Yeah, and then the marketing, I just don't think many mainstream people knew what Ghost in the Shell even was.
Yeah, I think they people went like, oh, it's another sci-fi thriller.
It's Lucy too.
Basically, it did have a look of Lucy to it.
We will get into it, but I'm going to make a lot of comparisons to Lucy when we end up doing the review. Number 4 is Power Rangers, which dropped 64% in its second weekend. So that's a pretty big drop for it. To date, the film has grossed $65 million in U.S., and apparently it's worldwide is about 100 mil, like 98 million about. So they're a little wary about this because this was supposed to be the start of a 6-film franchise, and they're like, but I wouldn't be too worried about it. I would say, what are the toy sales like? Because that's what that movie's all about. Is that we're gonna sell some toys to kids.
But how much money did that movie cost to make?
What was its budget? I think it was actually pretty cheap for something of that effects level. I don't remember. 65 million. Doesn't have the budget here on it.
I'll find it.
All right, but it's rounding it out as Kong Skull Island in 5. It's still in there, man. And Logan is in 6, so shit is sticking around. And guess what's in 7 is Get Out. Get Out is still earning.
Okay,
man.
so that reminds me, I actually have a story involving Get Out. Or not so much involving it, just more situationally similar. Mm-hmm. So yesterday at work, 6 a.m., like when we fucking open, this group of people comes up and asks to use our phone because they apparently there was 5 people and they were all approximately our age. And none of them had a phone. I'm like, okay, I'm already suspicious, but fine, here's the phone. Kind of like they're trying to call like a whole bunch of people trying to figure out what to do here. Apparently their car broke down. Mm-hmm. And they have to get to Milwaukee.
Okay.
There are 2 black girls, 2 black guys, and 1 white chick. Mm-hmm. And they're sitting here like just really struggling to get where they need to go. They can't really find a good way of getting to, a cheap way of getting to Milwaukee. Until they found the fact that, apparently the white girl's mother just recently moved into Green Bay. I'm like, no, you run right now. All you black folks run. I'm sorry, but your car mysteriously broke down. None of you have a phone. I'm like, nah, get out. Sorry.
So that's, I wonder, like, if that was the initial, like, what is your thought when you break down in a small town like that if you're not white? Like, now the immediate thought is gonna be Get Out. Like, that's gonna be the reference point now from like, oh no, seen this movie.
That reminds me of a story that, one of my friends transgender. Mm-hmm. And, she was going around with one of Tessa's he was going around, I should say, was going around with one of Tessa's coworkers who was black, and another one of Tessa's coworkers who was lesbian. Mm-hmm. And they stopped in a McDonald's in small town Kentucky.
Wait, I know this joke. They all got hanged. That's the punchline. That's the punchline.
Oh god,
right?
No. Sorry. Everybody was staring, and we went like, "Oh god, this was a big mistake."
A big mistake. This was not a good idea at all. And it's like, no, but then they came to Kyle. It's like, no, we want Kyle. Wait, what, me? Yeah, the liberal. Get him. We got priorities.
Take one for the team, Kyle.
But on that note,
by the way, Power Rangers budget was $100 million.
100. Okay, that's pretty. So that's still
sizable.
Yeah, it's still pretty steep. Okay, so but speaking of money, Fast and the Furious, it's known to cause some destruction in its movies, some property damage, right? Well, apparently, some insurance company must have had some time off because they calculated how much real world money that the Fast and the Furious crew would have actually cost.
Just on the stampede of cars alone. Mm-hmm. That is hundreds of thousands.
They haven't counted that one yet. Because that's the new movie. They haven't counted it yet.
Oh.
This is the previous movies. So you can only imagine how much money. Because they fuck up a submarine in that one. Apparently those are pretty expensive. Mm-hmm. But they calculated, and they said that... the franchise overall has made more money than it actually destroyed in its canon.
No.
Because it's made $4 billion over 7 films. That's $1 billion franchise, my friend. That is like Avengers level. Mm-hmm. Like, they're seriously car Avengers in a lot of ways. But here, I had the number here. I know what it wasn't arranged, but I want to find the exact number.
There it is. Isn't that up there?
Yeah, where was
514?
514 million in damage that both the heroes and villains have done.
Wow,
I'm surprised that it's that low.
So it's actually under $1 billion?
That is a lot low. Now, you gotta figure this doesn't... they checked off some stuff. This is just the proper damage they could calculate. This isn't incidental damage from other stuff like, say, how many people died when they pulled those... that safe behind them in Brazil. Because it's like, well, it doesn't show anybody die, but you gotta figure there's some cost of life going on in there, too. There's just some things they couldn't calculate, so they had to leave them off. But they did do a scenario of like the heroes actually cause more damage than the villains. They actually cost more money than the villains do, and I believe it.
Yeah,
yes. I believe it so much. like that is one of the things about those movies that never made sense to me, but in the best way. Deckard Shaw, I think it was Jason Statham's villain, is actually he not only leads the amount of destruction for the villains, but he blows the competition out of the water. But they had a hard time with some of the special vehicles because sometimes they just make up vehicles for those movies.
Right. Yep.
So they have we don't really know how much those things cost. Like we can guess how much they cost, but we don't really know.
You probably put something like it's kind of like this vehicle, so we'll substitute the cost for that.
Mm-hmm. So I was just found that really shocking that it was that low.
Yeah.
I really thought that it would cross at least to $1 billion. I thought it might hit near $1 billion, but
remember when Dom and crew were stealing DVDs?
Players off
the back of a semi?
Kyle, that's when I saw this article. That's immediately my first thought was that in the first movie they were just stealing DVDs off the back of a semi truck with sawed-off shotguns, and that's it. Like didn't have this crazy car stuff. Like they didn't have crazy cars that would flip cop cars when they ran into them or any of that shit.
Well, so here's the problem: is nowadays, who wants DVDs? You can't give them away.
Yeah, right. Like they had to switch it up because of the format. The Blu-ray
forced them to do this.
Forced them. They didn't ask for
this. Blu-ray digital downloads.
They didn't ask for this, Kyle. Blu-ray landed on them. But with that, I only have a couple more news stories. Apparently Voltron had also an April Fool's gag, but it actually announced that even after the gag, it was like, no, but seriously, season 3 is coming. 2017. So we're getting it later this year, apparently.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool. Me and Travis were a little disappointed in season 2, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they can't bounce back with season 3. I'm gonna still watch it.
Yeah, I like season 1 a lot.
Yeah. With that, I'm gonna bring this news story to a close.
I actually do have one, though.
Okay.
Well, actually, I have two. Overwatch, Blizzard's first-person shooter game, has, like many other online multiplayer games, a lot of problems with cheating.
Oh, sure.
Apparently, they actually managed to sue one of them.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
This is actually almost impossible at times because a lot of times they're either businesses that are crossing different international lines or just in different countries in general. But apparently there's one developer of a German firm called Bossland is being forced to pay $8.6 million to Blizzard for 42,818 counts of copyright infringement. So,
wow.
Can you say that company again?
Bossland.
Bossland.
Yes, they're called Bossland.
That's the name of a
I like that name. That is a good name.
That is the name of a Southern revenge film. Yeah. That is the name of a Kentucky Fried Revenge film. That's great.
Apparently, because it was a U.S. court case, the Bossland company tried getting it dismissed, and apparently that didn't work, which I think it usually does. Where it's like, no, you can't do anything to them. So this is actually a really big win for Blizzard.
Yeah, that is surprising. Usually those things don't go anywhere.
No.
So that's surprising to hear.
One other thing is apparently the Jack and Daxter collection is going to be coming to the PS4.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yep. Yeah. I think it's just the classic one, not like an up HD version. But it's actually going to include not only just Jack and Daxter, Jak 2 and Jak 3, but also the racing game.
Oh, the racing game, Jak X.
The racing game, yep.
Okay.
I don't think the PSP game's coming out.
Okay. Well, we might have found another Let's Play to do.
Yeah.
Because there's just an excuse to play the Jak games again.
Right?
But yeah, with that, unless anyone else has any last minute news to bring up, we can go right into the trailer talk, which will be a short trailer talk today because it's only one.
All right.
But yeah, with that, we're gonna take a small musical break, get swifty, and we'll be back right after this.
You gotta get swifty. You gotta get swifty in here. It's time to get swifty. Oh, you gotta get swifty. Oh yeah. Take off your pants and your panties. Shit on the floor. Time to get swifty in here. Gotta shit on the floor. I'm Mr. Bulldops. I'm Mr. Bulldops. Take a shit on the floor. Take off your panties and your pants. It's time to get swifty in here.
And we're back with the UGO podcast, and we're going to talk some trailers before we go into our movie reviews for today. So we got only the one trailer to get into. So would you guys be interested in watching the second Mummy trailer with me?
After the first one and our whole Dracula kind of
yes. Let's see if it follows through, Kyle. Let's see if it follows through on our logic here.
Whatever's in there has been safely hidden for 2,000 years. This isn't a tomb. It's a prison. Nick! The hieroglyph said she was named Amenet, chosen to be Egypt's next queen. But her thirst for power led her down a darker path, one that had to be stopped.
Because of your actions, this ancient power has returned.
I think the bird effect has improved.
Yeah.
You are alive because you were chosen.
Chosen? By what?
Evil. The ultimate evil.
Legend has it she's a being of unimaginable powers. Now she's using you to regain them. Oh my God.
She will not stop until she has remade our world into her own.
Stay with me.
I'm scared.
I'm gonna figure this out.
Don't leave me.
Easy.
You can't run. You can't escape. She's got plans for you.
Bitch slap. Woo! So that was The Mummy, and I would say that our I don't know. I would say that our theory is not quite what we probably thought, because they're making it seem like he's got the powers from her, and that he's made her kind of a mummy.
Nick, I don't know how to say this, but this is Suicide Squad without the Suicide Squad.
This is Suicide Squad
This
without...
is the Suicide...
Why would you say that? What makes you say that? Well,
it's literally, if you just take out the actual Suicide Squad, it's that movie's plot.
Oh, with Enchantress, sure.
Yeah.
You know what? I will say this about it. I kind of like the fact that they capture the mummy for a little bit, and then they're kind of fucking with it, and they might be trying to use it to do sciencey shit. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a little interesting. But like with the other Mummy films, I always thought the mummy was more interesting when it wasn't all powerful.
Yeah.
When there was a chance to get away from it and like kill it. Once it gets those god powers of like faces and clouds, because apparently that's a consistent power the mummy has.
Mm-hmm.
Cloud face. It has the power of cloud face. Whenever they does that, it looks so much like Apocalypse or Enchantress that my brain goes immediately checks out, and I go, yeah, I'm just waiting for whatever Deus Ex Machina they come up with to kill her. And that's, I don't know why she would make one of the people immortal. Like, apparently her powers are tied to Tom Cruise. And like, oh, you are already eternally immortal. Let me take your power, Tom Cruise, so that I can share your immortality. I I like the fact that Tom Cruise is actually really afraid during the beginning part of this trailer, where he's like, man, we never see him nervous about anything ever. Like, he's always the coolest kid in school, you know? And then this one, it sells how bad of a situation he's in when he's constantly screaming.
Well, they did have the beginning part where, like, the lady's like, oh, this isn't a tomb, it's a prison. And his first reaction is, yeah, let's let that out. Like,
yeah.
No, why?
I liked his friend when they first found it, he was hanging off that side, and Tom Cruise is like, whoa, what is that? If I'm that guy, I'm like, well, could you stare at it later? I'm seriously still, like, you know, I'm hanging here and I'm hurt. Can you help me out before I die? Or, no, we're waiting for the money shot. We're waiting for the establishing shot. Fine, okay, whatever. But I don't know. Russell Crowe is coming in here, and it looks like he's barely trying. Like the film has his attention, but like barely. Like, I feel like if I just dangled keys off to the side of the camera, he'd lose complete focus. He'd be like, what? It's just
Crow smash!
Because he is, I don't know, it feels like he's sleepwalking through this. I don't know the actress playing the mummy. She looks good as the mummy, but her design is so fucking generic. I think that she's just gonna. The one good thing is that no one will probably remember her from this.
True.
Like that.
Like, this actress won't lose anything for it.
She won't. She probably won't lose cred on it like at all. But
I was the mummy. Who?
Yeah, that. Which one?
Never mind.
Oh, you're the female apocalypse, or the
Enchantress 2.
Enchantress 2, the Electric Boogaloo, the sequel. Yeah, I do have to agree with Travis that it's just that design, and then the last, I just don't like the whole the big powers are the thing that gets me and makes me turn off. I'm like, no, that's boring. We've seen that. I kind of like her spider crawling around and killing people I like the personal touch to my murder.
Right. Kind of up close.
But yeah, I don't know, it didn't really show us any much more than that throughout the other trailers. I thought it was kind of interesting they showed Egypt, like some, I'm assuming Egypt anyway, since they're finding the mummy, but that they're showing some sort of conflict in, there, so that was interesting that they would address that. Most movies would just be like, there's a dig in Egypt and then we found it.
Yep.
But so they're actually addressing some sort of conflict. I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat. It probably won't factor in any more than just the beginning part of the movie. But
quickly forgotten.
It'll probably will be forgotten, but it's neat that that we see it, that's in there. Anything else, guys, struck you when you were watching it?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it was well cut, but
yeah. Well, there's so many fade to black moments that if we didn't have the right frame rate on it, so we were actually missing some scenes. Like, it's so many, but that's a really common trailer thing to do now, is the fade cut to black quick and then come back with whatever quick cut sequence. The Painted Black song, as much as I hate slow cover songs,
well, this wasn't a cover.
This one wasn't slow. It was the actually original Painted Black, and I'm like, yeah, this more or less works. Like,
it was just the like.
It makes it more of it gives it a creepy feel in the beginning. Maybe that's my problem, is that the beginning part of this film with the mummy, it actually seemed like, oh, this might actually be a horror movie.
Yeah, kind of.
Like, it was really scary. Like, when the chick comes up behind the two of them and they're in the sewer, and she comes up from the water, that's like oh shit, like she's there, like in the back. I'm like, that was legitimately scary. But then at the end, where it shows the big we'll tear down the world and we'll build a better one moment from Apocalypse, I'm just like, now you're a supervillain sort of thing, and I'm losing some tension. You're Rita repulsing it here.
Yeah.
But with that, should we just go right into our movie reviews for today?
Sure.
You guys ready? Yeah. So we are going to be talking about Ghost in the Shell and Power Rangers today. And why don't we start off with Ghost in the Shell? Because me and Travis and his girlfriend went to go see it.
Switch that around.
What is it? Was it me? Did I say it wrong?
Yeah, you said Travis.
Me? Oh, that's right. I started to go see Travis. I went to go see Power Rangers with Travis. That's right. I'm the only one that's seen both movies today. So I started to go see Ghost in the Shell with Kyle and his girlfriend.
Yep.
And we went to go see that, so that was fun. I remember coming down because they were talking about going to see a movie, and that's all I heard, and I ran down, and I was like, movie? I haven't been to the movie theaters in like 2 weeks. I'm like itching for it. I'm jonesing. What are we going to see? Oh, Ghost in the Shell? Oh. But I went to go see, and I kept an open mind. And obviously, this movie's had a lot of controversy thrown its way for whitewashing, and whether or not you think it deserves it via the trailer, the movie makes a weird decision that we'll have to get into.
That at the very end, where it's like, okay, there's not really much forgiving that.
Yeah, it makes it to where it was questionable before, where it was like, I don't know if I feel one way, or I don't know how I feel about this, to at the end you go, yeah, it is not open for interpretation anymore.
And to be honest, like, throughout the rest of the movie, it was a fairly multicultural cast. You literally had one person who only spoke Japanese.
Yep. That was
the chief.
The chief, and he was played by the guy from the Vengeance trilogy, or from the Vengeance movies. He's a famous Asian actor that, and the guy's fantastic. He's a really good actor. I was super happy to see him in there. I didn't even know he was playing that guy. I was like, oh my god, yay! But that being said, we'll have to save that for a spoiler section because it does deal with plot details. But needless to say, if you are offended by the whitewash, if you think you're like, I don't know if I want to see this movie because of the whitewashing thing, you might not want to go see it because it's going to piss you off near the end.
Yeah.
But as far as the movie itself, I remember watching it in the opening sequence. It opens with this visually beautiful opening sequence, and I was just like, wow, this is really good. This is like this. It harkens to the old anime, but it's switching up stuff. It doesn't look exactly like it. It borrows some imagery from it, but it was really captivating to watch visually. And then they make the mistake of talking, and then they keep talking, and then they keep talking. And Kyle, I don't know what you thought about this film, because we came out of it and we talked a little bit about it on the drive home, but it was like we made a couple of remarks about it, but then I went home and immediately went to sleep, and I've had like a whole week to think about it. Yeah. And I'm like, man, the dialogue in this movie was awful. It was so on the nose with everything. And a perfect example is one of the first lines out of their mouths is, oh, when Scarlett Johansson wakes up, she's like, oh, we weren't able to save your body, but we created you a new body for you, a shell, and we were able to save your soul, or your ghost. And I was like, Jesus, come on, guys. And then in the next scene, it shows the guy's like, she is the future of our company. This is important. This is our future of our company. That guy says the same line, and then the next scene he shows up in word for word.
Yep.
And I'm like, what? Guys, what are we doing here? Like, we're wasting time reiterating stuff that the audience already knows. And the fact of the matter is that it could be that since I've watched the original series and the movie, I have an initial prejudice against this, because especially the series, because the movie is very intentionally obtuse, and it doesn't really explain a lot, to its detriment sometimes, where it's just a lot of stuff where you have to kind of really interpret stuff, and the movie handholds you through the whole thing. But the show does a great job of visually telling you, and just through like natural dialogue, what's going on with the characters.
Yeah, well, that's part of condensing the media into a movie form, though.
And I totally get that, but the fact is that this dialogue they didn't even try and weave it narratively. Like, they literally,
it did not flow well.
They literally state what everybody's feeling all the time. Like, Kusanagi, or not Kusanagi, because they switch up her name. The Major, played by Scarlett Johansson, is constantly talking about whether or not she's human, or she's always making remarks of how self-conscious she is about whether or not she feels like she's an actual human being, and all that dialogue is some version of that. It's never a bigger thing. And someone decided to tell Scarlett Johansson that, oh, you're playing a robot, so she plays a robot, and no one decided to say, oh, well, the Major from the anime she doesn't act like that. She has a personality.
I have to push back on that, because the Major is not a very colorful character.
No, she's not a colorful character, but she's not boring, which Scarlett Johansson was super boring in this.
Ghost in the Shell, most of the personality were in the people around the Major.
It's true.
And the problem with that is that they never put anybody around the Major in the movie.
Oh yeah, it's heavily it's Scarlett Johansson, and Bato is the second billing. He comes around the most.
Yeah, and Bato, the only personality he had in the show was he's the brooding old soldier kind of deal.
I don't know. I always thought she had a little bit of personality, where it was that she's sarcastic, has a sense of humor, and it's a dry sense of humor to be sure, but you can tell via subtlety with her vocal performances. But from the show is where I'm driving a lot of this, more or less.
Instead of the OVA,
Instead of the OVA.
What most of those movies based off of.
Yeah, which is probably a mistake to begin with, to be honest.
What else? How are they going to be able to condense the Laughing Man into a movie?
Oh no! Well,
Yeah.
that was a good decision where they actually switched that up. I mean, I wouldn't have done the whole. Look, the big thing with this movie is that none of it feels original because so much stuff has stolen from Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, you're gonna feel a lack. I'm gonna straight up say right now. I thought the movie was okay. It's not a good movie. Mm-hmm.
It is technically functional.
Yeah, that's what I was saying yesterday. I'm like, it's a functional remake of the OVA. It's not necessarily a serviceable one that you're going to be satisfied with. Mm-hmm. Mainly because Ghost in the Shell was such a hit in 1995, I believe it was released.
Yes, it was the early 90s, if I'm remembering correctly.
It was such a hit. It had stellar animation, had great visuals, and it revolutionized the franchise. How do you do that again with the movie? I mean, it's something that already happened and it already revolutionized, and then the genre moved on to better things. So when you put it, essentially, it's an old movie now.
It's basically a documentary.
Yeah,
it's like when you're trying to make Red Dawn again,
Yes.
or something like that. It's like, oh, what does it mean when we'll all have cybernetic enhancements, and when it's what is the soul if you have it? I'm like, we've already moved on to way more complex questions than this. Like, and they don't straight up change the theme of the show, which is weird because there's a bunch of themes in the show they could have explored. Like, there's other things about identity, prejudice against, seeing things as foreign. There was even a big immigration thing in one of the series. I think it was in Second Gig. I forget which one.
And they hit on the immigration because back in the show, the American Empire fell. So
Yeah.
it broke apart. But
And they I've heard mixed results on Scarlett Johansson's performance in this. For me, who is a big fan of how the Major is portrayed in the show, I think she fell way flat. She's portraying a completely different character than the Major. She's portraying this character that is like a Jason Bourne, I don't know who I used to be, and I'm trying to be this spy type of person, but yet I'm having trouble with my emotions. I kind of have no emotions until scenes I do have emotions. She had that one line where she was trying to sell, like, I will find him and I will kill him. That was a horrible read, man.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
You got to admit, like, that was horrible. Like,
Yeah.
it was, and I don't know what fell through translation there, which is a shame because it's her show. It's the big movie. They have a great cast for, what's his name? The detective, Tatsig,
oh yeah,
Tatsuga?
yeah.
Or, no, I'm mispronouncing it. I'm so sorry. I thought I had it, but
It sounded like you were about to say Tetsaiga. I thought we were going to go all Inuyasha on this.
It's the detective with the mullet and the revolver.
Yeah.
I forget what his name.
My favorite character, but I can't remember him right now.
Now I'm thinking of Akira Tetsuo. Like, that's not it. But yeah, Saito, I believe is the name of the sniper, right? And
Yes.
The sniper, he shows up at the very end for one scene to go like, I got this. And I'm like, no, and I'm here, I'm like, no one in this audience knows who the fuck this is, because you didn't introduce this guy. And he just, out of nowhere, comes in and saves the Major for a half second, and then is gone. And I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm seriously thinking there's a actual longer cut of this movie that includes some more scenes with those guys. Because seriously, Section 9 gets forgotten halfway through this movie. It's like they forget they even have a Section 9.
That's another problem with the OVA in general, where they introduce government bodies and then they drop them the next scene, and nothing happens with them.
And see, that's my problem, is that, man, you guys copied way too much from the OVA and not enough from the actual series, the show. Like, because I want to be... I don't know how controversial it is, but I'm like, the series is way better than the OVA. Yeah. And the OVA has not aged well with time. Like, the visuals are still cool, but the main story is way better explored in the show, and they make more interesting decisions. Mm-hmm. And the fact that the coolest parts of this movie are when they straight up rip off the OVA, where they show scenes like the water fight, where they're fighting that ankle high water. I'm like, this is neat. It's exactly like the anime, so I know there's no tension in this, but it's neat to see in live action, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to complain when Scarlett Johansson's in basically a glove bodysuit. Sure, that's fine. But then it's preceded by a scene where they bring up an interesting thing, which is that the guy that they're chasing, he's had a whole memory thing downloaded into his brain. Mm-hmm. His memories are fake. Like, he's thinking about a daughter he's never had.
Yep.
And this is the first time they've run into something like that, and none of the characters are treating it like the big deal that it is.
Yeah.
Like, they're just all like, oh, that's weird. I'm like, that's weird? That's crazy. That means we don't know anything about how this hacker... A bunch of people doing crimes, not just these crimes, could be completely doing it for unknown reasons based off of memories.
Yes.
This is a huge deal, and you guys are brushing it off for another action scene.
And not only that, they put him in a chamber where he can hang himself.
Yeah, they have a leash around him. And the first minute I saw that leash, I was like, why does he have a collar on? Like, what the fuck is this? And then later, after he's hacked for a minute, it's just long enough for them to trace where the hack is going. Like, there's no reason to hack this guy. I'm like, anyone gonna bring this up? This is an obvious trap? No? None of you expert terrorist guys? No? Okay. And that's a bad thing, is that the little part that the Section 9 is in this movie, they're not very good at their jobs. Mm-hmm. And it's like, cause they do another mission where they immediately get found out that they're Section 9. They're like, oh, you're government agents. I'm like, wow, way to infiltrate, guys. You guys are awful at this. But yeah, the guy that they have in the cell jumps up and hangs himself. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? He had enough force to jump up and break his own neck? Because no one's running in there to save him. Because I'm like, well, he's obviously just suffocating. There's no way he broke his own neck. But they add in the breaking the neck sound effect. And I'm like, okay, say I do believe that he managed to break his own neck somehow with that amount of force, which should be impossible. Why would you design a cell where that could happen?
Yeah.
You have
an interrogation cell.
The whole point of this cell is to keep people in it to get information out of them. You know who it's really hard to get information out of? Dead people. They don't give up a lot of information. So maybe you should, safety proof that motherfucker.
Yeah.
So there's certain details that they get painstakingly right throughout the thing, like the whole tank ending from the OVA. That's pretty much recreated shot for shot.
Yes.
And the attention to detail is very, it's honed. Like, you can tell they went over it with a fine-tuned comb. But for plot stuff, it's like they just did not care. Like, they just want to get to the next scene where they're ripping off the OVA as fast as possible. And it's just sloppy filmmaking. It's like the bare minimum of effort went into transitioning one of these scenes from one another.
I think we should get to ratings, though, to speed this along.
We should definitely go into ratings, because I want to get into a spoiler section, too, and so people have a chance to hear that. You want to start?
Sure. It is actually quite visually stunning. I saw some critics go like, oh, the effects are terrible. That scene where the bad guy takes a piece of the Major's face off, that looked pretty damn cool.
For a CG sequence where he's on the screen and her, and it's like a bunch of CG effects on the screen at once, and they all look visually impressive, and you don't have a disconnect from what's going on in the narrative, it's actually really impressive. Like that, I will give this film that much credit. Like, the visuals are very, very spot on.
Yeah,
they're very
and
good.
Whenever they did take a shot from the OVA, it looked pretty good, because it was just animated very well. And a hard part of making a remake of something everybody is so fond of is that it's like, I already saw that.
Yep.
But like you said, dialogue was bad. it didn't look as bad as I thought it was going to, but some parts were just plain boring. They added a part about her origin because that's the point of the series, or one of the major points of the series. Major.
Yeah.
But that, we'll get to that. I give it a 4 out of 5. It's a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 10, you mean?
4 out of 10. 4 out of 10.
Okay.
That's my rating system.
I was gonna say, I'm like, that sounded high.
Kyle
for
loved this movie.
It's a 4 out of 10, yeah.
Okay, and then I will bounce off of that. I'll agree with everything Kyle said, and then I will put on this as well in the fact that it is a travesty that they made the major a boring character. I really feel like that was a disservice to... There's a point in this film, too, where she's like, I need to go back to Section 9 to figure out my past, and it's her fate is left up to random happenstance rather than an actionable plan by her. She leaves her fate up to the bad guys in hopes one of them has a change of heart in order for her to get out of scenario. There's no clever planning on her part. She just accidentally gets out of it. And I'm like, really? The Major just accidentally gets out of this through sheer happen? No! She's a compelling and commanding female force, and I always found that very empowering throughout the series, is that she always had a plan and would still get beat up and still, have, failures, but they would not be through, incompetence on her part. So I thought that was very insulting to me on that level. And it was sitting at like a 2 out of 5 for a long time in this film. The ending part where it shows her origin almost makes me want to give it a 1 out of 5 out of spite for the fact that they were just that dumb that they didn't know that was going to be a problem.
Yeah.
But I will give it marks on the visuals and the fact that some of the other casting was pretty good. Like, this movie isn't a complete dumpster fire, but it is kind of a slog to watch. Yeah. So I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. And with that, we're going to go into a small spoiler section for just a couple minutes. If you want to switch ahead to our Power Rangers, skip ahead until you hear some Power Rangers music. I'll cut that in so that we have that transitional there. But yes, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Kyle's playing this.
Oh god, so the Major was at one point actually Asian. They literally put an Asian brain into a white person's body.
Ow.
Oh boy.
It is Get Out.
Yep.
They got it out.
They got her out. And they put it in. I was in the theater.
This is a double spoiler alert then.
I was in the theater, and during the scene where we have the old Japanese woman coming around and telling her, like, oh yeah, I lost a daughter, and then she's looking at her and it's like, you look a lot like her, and I went, no, don't do this, don't do this, and yeah, the thing about it is that it was so unnecessary. Yeah. They didn't have to do it at all. They went out of their way to do it. And the only reason I can think of is they thought it would make it better. That, we made the bad guy, the bad corporation that made her, they put an Asian brain into a white body. They're the ones that did it. And I'm like, you guys tried to make it better. And then somehow you made it so much worse. Because you might have been able to spin this to a point of, like, Japanese culture thinking that Caucasian culture is somehow more attractive and more desirable. You could have said something about it.
That is straight up white supremacy.
But like the idea of appropriating culture throughout other cultures as well. And I could have seen a statement like that. I still would not have agreed with it, but I could have seen what you were trying to do. But instead, this one comes off as, we had an Asian brain, but we decided we wanted her to be a superhero, and the only way we can make a superhero is if it's white. I mean, we're not crazy, right? Like, if we're not gonna make an Asian superhero, that'd be weird. And it's super, super awkward to watch. It's like, I couldn't even believe they were doing it as it was happening. And the thing is that they do it fucking twice, because the dude, the main villain, is also an Asian brain in a white body. So So they doubled down on it. And it's like
They were really determined to do this, huh?
Yeah, I can see why, like, the story element of wanting to complete the Major's story arc and go like, oh, this is what your origins are, because they are not going to get a sequel.
No.
They probably knew they weren't going to get a sequel, because these things never do.
Nope.
But...
What are you talking about?
Really?
I'm still waiting on that Aeon Flux sequel, Kyle. I'm still waiting on it.
That was a thing.
You remember that?
Okay. By the way, that is one of the movies I was having trouble remembering in a past episode.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh god, it's like that one movie, but I can't remember it.
Because no one remembers the Aeon Flux movie.
There's a good reason for that.
Yeah. Man, it is so awkward. And the fact that it really speaks to Hollywood that no one on set, like no one in the production company went, this might piss people off. Like, how tone deaf. They must have all had Archer levels of tinnitus to have that sort of tone deafness. It's crazy. But yeah, is there anything else we want to do a spoiler section on? Because
no.
while we're here,
While Kyle's here.
because that's basically all I wanted to cover. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So a bad movie, don't go see it.
I would say it's not
A
very
mediocre
good.
movie, don't go see it.
Watch the OVA.
Yeah, if you need to watch the OVA, watch the OVA. If you want a really good story that really fleshes out the characters and the narrative, go watch the series. Go watch Standalone Complex.
So why should I watch this movie?
Yeah, you should. I would heavily recommend Standalone Complex. That's for sure. It has talking Spider-Bots in that. That's fun.
Tachikomas,
yeah.
Which I think they might have had at the company in this one as a little bit of a homage.
It could have been, but I don't know.
But they never talked, so it was never cute.
I miss the Tachikomas.
Well, talking murder bots.
But with that, should we take a small musical break and come back with Power Rangers?
Without Kyle.
Without Kyle, yes.
Who thought it was a fucking good idea to give the cutest voices to the killer robots?
That's a brilliant idea. What are you talking about?
I don't know, Kyle, but that person is a genius. I mean, practically, it's not a good idea, but entertainment-wise for the audience, real good. Good.
It's
good
like,
job.
I need to intimidate my opponents. Drop the gun, fucker!
I swear to God, I will end you! Oh my God, that's adorable.
Say more things.
Alright, and welcome back to the UGO podcast, and we are Kyle-less now.
Yes, we are 2/3 of a podcast.
We're one less Kyle down, but we are still going to finish off this episode by reviewing the Power Rangers movie.
Well, the thing is that we had to get rid of Kyle before we could talk about the fun movie of this
Fun
series.
movie. Now, we went to go see Power Rangers.
Yep.
And I went in knowing that there was mixed things on it. I heard different
Hearing a
reports.
lot of different things.
So it opens with Rita like murdering the previous team of Power Rangers 65 million years ago, and it was like, God damn, this is kind of neat. It actually reminded me of the fan film that they made.
Yes.
The Down and Dirty.
The opening shot did look almost exactly from that.
So yeah, we have, the story is such that Rita, the original Green Ranger, played by Elizabeth Banks,
Which is still funny.
is destroying the original team. Zordon, in a last ditch effort, who is the original Red Ranger, buries the power coins and sends a fucking meteor to take out Rita.
Yeah,
how badass is that?
The Power Rangers kill the dinosaurs. Like,
is that what they were implying?
yeah, that's kind of what they were implying.
I thought that was what it was, but then the meteor hit. I'm like, I think it would make a bigger explosion than that. But that's kind of that. I found that was kind of neat. Like that might have been pretty fun. That they murdered an entire race in order to temporarily
take out Rita.
Yeah. But yeah, we switch to 65 million years later, and it's Jason, our Red Ranger for this movie, is committing a high school prank, and it ends up in this car chase that's a weirdly compelling car chase for this type of movie.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's anywhere near good at all is kind of surprising. Like, it's done through this weird first-person camera perspective that keeps rotating, and they crash, and it's all from the perspective of the camera. It's actually really neat. So yeah, he gets his leg hurt, and he can't finish out his season.
Yeah, he's also, like, suspended, I think.
Yeah.
Or at least he's in detention.
And, he goes into detention with all the other reprobates and misfits and stuff, and he meets Billy there, who is, the black kid of the school, and he's a black autistic kid. So that's really neat, is that he's the first major autistic, superhero.
Yes.
If you don't count the accountant, from the...
That's kind of fair, I guess. That basically is a superhero in that film.
But yeah, he's being bullied. And he's being bullied by one of those stereotypical bullies from like an 80s film. They kind of jumped into this movie. And
no, just straight up from the Power Rangers show.
From the 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jason decides to come up there and defend Billy. Because he's like, I hate guys like that. And he defends
Well,
Billy.
the bully first tries to punch him a couple times.
He's trying to punch him. He's throwing a couple jabs. And then Jason does this thing. He open-handed slaps the bully.
Yep.
In a way that it was like the most badass thing. Just like, and then I was just like, whoa, what the... And then even the bully is like, did you just slap me? It's like, yeah, weird. And it reminded me of fucking Luke Cage with Cottonmouth. Remember? Where it was like... I'm slap you because I don't want to. I never hit a bitch with a closed fist.
Yep. It does feel like a really similar scene.
I wanted to just hit Jason to go ha ha.
Just that laugh.
That little laugh. And then like the bully will spit in his face like, thank you, now I can hit you like a man. So I thought like, man, that was awesome.
That was a really good introduction for both the characters.
We meet Kimberly, who is also in detention. And she has she has some committed bullies because she was.
Well, they were her friends.
They were her friends, but they decided like we're gonna. Did you send that picture did you send that picture to this guy? And they're all vague about some sort of thing she did underhanded, and they're like, well, we're moving on. We're cutting you out of the picture, literally. And they bring up this picture of them together, and they have scissors. And I'm like, wow, these bullies like you can appreciate some bullies that put some effort in. They brought visual aids. They were ready. They stalked out the bathroom for God knows how long.
Well, they texted her like, "Come to the bathroom."
Yeah, and they put effort into their bullying. Yeah, it's they are it's inspiring to see someone still so willing to put effort into their craft. I expected them to actually like go behind her and go down for one to go on their knees and one to push the other over, the classic move. And then the since Jason is under house arrest, he enlists Billy into helping him get the ankle out.
Kind of the opposite. Billy enlists him. It's like, I need your help. I'm under house arrest. I can fix that.
Yeah, I can fix that.
Like, what?
Billy does not gotta give a fuck in this movie. Like, he's just like, oh, Jason talked to me. He's my friend. Allow me to break the law for him.
Right.
Okay, and then Jason's just like, well, I'm not one to look at forks in the mouth.
Yeah.
They fool the ankle bracelet, so they go out into the gold mine. And I kind of like how they have Jason and Billy's relationship kind of portrayed in this movie, where it's like Billy just does not shut the fuck up ever, and like he doesn't get social cues.
No.
So he outright admits there's no question about it. He outright admits I'm on the spectrum. I don't get sarcasm or some outright jokes. Like I don't get it. Which is contradicted a little bit later, where he does start to get jokes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wait a minute, I thought you couldn't get jokes, but whatever. For the most part, it's pretty accurate from what I've seen. But I do like the fact that Jason is just like, okay, I helped you out here. I don't know what we're doing here, and I've asked you like 5 times and you never answered. So I'm just gonna leave, okay? And Billy's still talking.
Yep.
He's still talking, and just like,
Which guy switched? I was like, if you're not switched to Jason, he's like, well, I'll just talk to my dead dad instead.
Mm-hmm. And and apparently Zach, the Black Ranger, and the Yellow Ranger Trini are there near the mountain too. They hang out there sometimes. Zach is like being a homeless guy out there, like he's just hanging out in some sort of trolley and and just eating like I don't know, something from a can and stalking Trini apparently. Like, oh, who are you? I was just like, that's creepy, that's weird. Trini does some sort of yoga on like cliff faces or whatever
while listening to death metal.
Kimberly's there going on a late night almost skinny dipping, but this is a Power Rangers movie, so she's got to wear her underwear.
Right.
So they all are together when Billy blows up a mine, which, like, where did he get explosives?
Well, they were actually, that was a mining, like, section. There probably was some lying around.
Sure. Super dangerous.
It kind of sounds like his dad was a miner. He might have, like, he said in the beginning of the film, like, oh, this stuff's still all the way down here. My dad left it here. It hasn't been touched. So he probably found it in his garage or whatever, his basement. So
they find some crystal-like crap. And after that, because they all come running to see what happened with the explosion. And they immediately break off that shit and been like, oh man, there's different colored coins and shit. Like y'all, and there's like one here for all of us. So you want to keep them? And they're getting chased by the security
mine
team.
Security, yep.
And then I don't want to spoil it.
No,
I don't know, because it's so awesome.
It's pretty out.
Because there's this train sequence. Where they're running away and they're trying to escape, and they're trying to run across railroad tracks, and
it's just the usual type of scene where it's like, the train's coming, we can make it, we can make it.
And not to spoil anything, but they subvert that trope pretty hard.
Yeah.
In a way where I was laughing in the theater, like I was seriously laughing.
It was really bad.
It was really, man, it was so funny. And yeah, so they wake up the next day and they figure out like, oh man, we have like powers and shit. We're all super strong. We can jump real far. We're like super fast. And they're trying to figure out like what the deal is going on.
Well, I was listening with Billy where you see the same bully from the previous day. Like, oh yeah, you don't have Jason here to defend you more. I'm going to bully you some more. Tries to break his wrist, doesn't work, so he decides to headbutt him. And just, the guy goes out like a light.
Right.
But then everyone sees that, so all of a sudden Billy becomes popular because he beat up a bully.
I do love that they all go back to the place where they got their crazy powers before. And I love they called them coins too out of nowhere. It's like, man, we got these coins. I'm like, what?
Why would you call them
coins?
Like, why would that be your first reaction?
They're big stone things. Like, I wouldn't call them coins. I'd maybe call them discs if I didn't call them rocks.
Yeah.
But,
power rocks.
Anyway, they're jumping across like a canyon, and then Billy falls in, and they find
they're just like, oh my god, what do? We just killed that kid.
Just killed a guy. Oh no, oh shit. And they find a spaceship in this cavern, and it's got Alpha 5 in it.
Who acts like a horror movie monster.
Who immediately, I love that he kind of whips the Rangers' asses in the beginning of this. And then Zordon is activated because they can finally activate the ship with power coins. Zordon turns out is in a goddamn wall. He's not happy about it. He's kind of pissed. I kind of like Dick Zordon. I don't know about you. I like Dick Zordon.
That's because you like the actor.
I love Bryan Cranston, and I love the fact that they're talking to like, who are these? These are children. This is bullshit. Why'd you bring me kids, Alpha? This is horrible. And it's like the morphing grid. I'm like, fuck, the morphing grid's never wrong, I guess. But I love it because in the original series, Zordon makes it like, I need you to find adolescents with attitude. Oh no, not teenagers, Alpha says, so it's flipped. I like Zordon hates the fact that it's these kids. I don't know, I absolutely love it. The thing is that they figure out like, oh, we're like protectors of the Zeo crystal, which is from like season 2. And we gotta protect it from Rita Repulsa, who is gonna summon Goldar. And like, this whole exposition in the beginning here is just like, this is the most ridiculous shit I've ever heard.
And the characters think that way too. They're just like, we're gonna get out now, we're just gonna leave? Yeah, thank you.
Credit to Bryan Cranston that he's able to say all that with like a straight goddamn face. Like he like says it legitimately.
Well, not that you can really tell because he looks like, it's like one of those nail bed toys. Remember those?
Yeah.
Like, that's basically what his face is.
And I liked how he moved around. It was interesting.
Yes.
Like he moved around.
And every time someone spoke to him, he like went up to them like, yes, you, talk more.
You. And yeah, he decides like, we need to train you up so that you can fight Rita. in like 11 days, because that's apparently when she'll be strong enough to get to summon Goldar and get the Zeo crystal. Mm-hmm. And cut to Rita waking up and apparently murdering her way to obtain gold from people's fillings.
Yes, although doesn't it seem weird that, like, did she wake up at the same time on happenstance, or just because the other coins were activated that woke her up?
I don't know. The movie's never clear. I assumed that because the other coins were activated, that it activated the morphing grid. And from the show, the morphing grid is connected to all the Rangers. So the morphing grid connects to the green power coin as well.
So basically, if the Power Rangers hadn't woken up the power grid, everything would have been fine.
Yes. I would assume that.
That's terrible.
Well, to be fair, Rita isn't the only one after the Zeo crystal.
True, but she's the first one.
So the only way that they would defend it were to be to get the crystals. So like without if you're gonna have the Power Rangers, you need all the Rangers active, apparently. Or it could have been coincidence. I don't know. The movie never states explicitly. But yeah, I like the I like the training. Oh yeah, and Bill Hader as Alpha 5 is actually pretty good too.
Yeah,
I like him. So the rest of the film is basically just training up for this final fight that they have to have with Rita and Goldar. And man, I gotta say, I was surprisingly digging this film throughout the first part of it. Like the first and second act was all it's very character driven between these characters that are learning to be friends, that even though they just
met, they're not very similar except for the fact that they all wound up in detention.
Zach's kind of the crazy wild kid, and he's helping out his mom who's sick. Trini is having domestic troubles at home because her family wants her to be normal, and they imply that she's gay. Like, I don't know about you, but after all this hubbub of like, LeFou is gay and Beauty and the Beast, and now we have a first gay Power Ranger, I'm like, could we do a little more than imply this?
Well, they implied it through her words, but they also kind of implied it with the Rita Repulsa scene, too.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Right.
But the thing is that Zach says, like, boyfriend troubles, and she's like, yeah, boyfriend troubles, and Zach's like, girlfriend troubles, and she never comments on it.
She doesn't, she throws it more through her body action, really.
I don't know. It felt like a cop-out from the studio level to me. Like, we didn't want to say it specifically.
Yeah, they could have been more explicit.
I'm like, you know... And I'm all about, like, no, a character doesn't have, a gay character, their character doesn't have to all about being, it doesn't have to be about all them being gay.
Right.
It doesn't have to, that's not what they have to be about specifically. But
it doesn't have to define them.
Doesn't have to define them, but it should be more than just slightly implied. Like, they so don't even touch on it. Like, it's kind of like they want to get the cred for having a gay character, but without any of the risk. And I feel like it's like, come on, have some balls. But I do like the scene with Rita there later, where if you thought it was, because I know we watched the trailer and I made the comment like, anyone else getting a weird kind of sexual assaulty vibe from Rita in this scene where she's attacking like the Yellow Ranger, and in the movie it's like even more implicit, where it's like, are you gonna morph? I'll show you mine if you show me yours. And I'm like,
it's super rapey.
I'm like. It never goes full uncomfortable, but it's like it's on that border of just like I feel like at any moment I could be watching a very different movie right now.
I just gotta say that, like, this movie was really funny for the character development. It was actually really good for that. I really liked Elizabeth Banks as Rita Repulsa.
She seems like the only one that showed up to do a Power Rangers movie.
Yes.
Like, we're doing Power Rangers, right? Let me get this. Yes,
I think that's actually exactly how it should have been, though, because the other characters are learning how to be the Power Rangers. She's just like, no, I got this. I'm already a Power Ranger. I'm gonna do what I want. It was fun.
Yeah, she's hamming it up, but in the best possible way. She has a really legitimately scary scenes at some point.
Yeah, she's actually a big threat in the movie.
To a point where I'm like, some scenes in this movie, I'm like, that's actually kind of scary for kids, like for little kids. Mm-hmm. But of course, she can summon the putties too, which the Rangers have to fight later, and that's what they fight in the pit where Zordon sends them. They fight hologram versions of the putties,
right?
And Yeah, so they are learning like martial arts within like 11 days, and figuring out how to use their powers.
We're gonna blame that on the coins and just.
I kind of like that they don't morph immediately too. Where in the show they could always just morph, like that was the thing that they could just do.
No, they basically used the morphing as like a plot point, a character development plot point, really.
Yeah. So, and I like the fact that they straight up say "kill" in this. Like, the Power Rangers is always like, destroy, destroy, and then this one is just like, Rita says, like, I'm gonna kill the Power Rangers, and the Power Rangers are like, we're gonna kill the fuck out of Rita.
Right.
And like, I like the fact that they figure out, like, okay, we can't morph, but let's go fuck her up, let's go kill her. And they grab pipes and chains and shit, like, man, they're gonna go try and gang beat her to death, that's awesome.
That was a good scene. But earlier in the movie, they keep failing to actually morph, which is pissing off Zord on no end. Where it's like, this side like, oh, well, Alpha 5 will show them something that will try to inspire them.
Yep.
So Alpha 5 shows them all the Zords. Like, and just in case you ever learn to morph, you can use these! But not now, because you're not ready yet. And they all leave, except for Zach.
I put that on Alpha. I put that on Alpha 5.
I put that on the whole team, actually.
No, that's some bullshit right there. You don't show me giant dinosaur robots and go, not yet.
Yeah.
That's some bullshit.
So Zach decides to take his Zord out for a test drive.
So that's a fun scene.
Oh my god, the scene with the nuns had me break out laughing.
Don't spoil it, spoil it. But yeah, it is a funny payoff. And it leads to another character development too, or it leads into another scene. So it's not just for laughs, it actually leads into another thing. And that's what I like about this movie too, is that the actual progression of the characters and how they treat each other is actually really interesting. Like, obviously the director of the movie was actually a fan of the show.
Always a plus. And
like he wanted to get the one aspect right, which was the camaraderie between the characters, between the Rangers. And I thought it's like, man, what a weird thing to focus on, because usually that was a thing, you know, that the early 90s Rangers, like they were friends and everything, but it's so rarely they'd always focus on like environmental messages or like almost PSAs every once in a while. And then it was all fighting. So that was interesting that he chose that aspect to really pump up in this movie.
But it made a good movie.
I gotta say, I really appreciated it. Like, I was just surprised how consistent, how constantly surprised I was about the film, how the level of quality that they do, and then the shot, it's pretty well shot throughout most of it.
The acting's good.
The acting from all the five Rangers, they're doing a pretty good job overall, I would say. Kimberly's character gets a little, like when they finally reveal like what's up with her, I feel like, oh really, is that it? Like, okay, fine. Like, everyone else has like a legitimate grievance, and you're kind of like, I used to be this valley girl, and I used to be part of the cool crowd, but I was too much of a bitch. And I'm like, okay. It'd be one thing if they just didn't keep it a secret for most of the film. It was like, why do we... That's like the least problem out of all these teenagers. She has the least severe problem, and hers the one is the secret that she can't share. And I'm like, okay. But speaking of sharing, that scene around the campfire might be my favorite scene in the movie.
That was a really good scene.
Where they're talking with each other, expressing like, "Hey, we're all outcasts, but this is what what this thing is feeling. It's we feel like a family. We feel together." Anyway, this film does have to have Power Rangers in it at a certain point,
which is almost unfortunate.
I would say it is unfortunate because as much as I like the 90s show, you have to admit it's a little silly. So when they switch over to the third act of this film and they go full 90s Power Rangers in it, it clashes with the tone that it was set up previously.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I was like, okay, yeah, I don't like the suits and I don't like how the Zords look. I wish they would have fought more.
I actually didn't mind the actual suits so much in action.
I still don't like them.
No?
I feel like they are just... there's too much on them. Like, there's no reason they can't be one solid color without a bunch of crap. Like, it's nice close up when they show, like, their scales on them. Like, oh, they're like dinosaurs. But, like, when you're not close up on them, like, well, it just looks like there's a bunch of just rendering crap on them. But they fight the putties for, like, a minute, like, and I'm like, oh yeah, finally, we're getting some martial, and we're done. I was like, okay, But we switched up to the Zord fights, and they did do one thing which I thought the show should, what I was always like, because, Zordon always says, never escalate a fight until your enemy does, and Zack's like, fuck that.
Yep.
Because he's gonna go get the fucking Zord and just mow down a bunch of putties, and take care of that. So that was cool. Only the Red Ranger even gets his weapon, his sword.
Yeah, I found that weird.
And it's like, oh, he does get the sword, but, I don't know if there was a longer fight sequence planned that they cut for time or something, but it was distinctly short. It cut off right when I was getting into it. I was just like, yeah, here we go, and we're done. Rita has summoned Goldar, and Goldar still looks as boring as he did in the trailers. There's no getting around it.
Although, I did like the fact that she did do the line, make my monster grow. I'm like, okay, the fact that they did it was pretty good.
They almost had to do it.
Yeah.
And then they have the fight scene, because they're trying to protect the Krispy Kreme.
Yes.
Which, oh my god, how much did Krispy Kreme pay you?
Probably a lot, because the source of all life is hidden underneath a Krispy Kreme, so, yeah.
Now, that was the thing that I'm like, okay, the first joke was funny, it was, legitimately funny. The next two were fine, and then the fourth one is like, okay, this is getting a little old. Yeah, how far are we gonna take this? And then the seventh joke about it is just like, Jesus Christ!
They didn't go that far, but...
No, so, they constantly they're referencing Krispy Kreme all the time. They are destroying the buildings around Krispy Kreme, so they can wait until the last possible second to destroy Krispy Kreme. They have Rita Repulsa take a time out in the middle of the fucking fight to eat a Krispy Kreme donut.
I actually kind of like that scene, though. Just the fact that she is all calm while Goldar's destroying shit is kind of funny.
So yeah, that one I was like, it started off as a funny joke that I wish would have ended before it became a running joke. I wonder who's sponsoring the next film. Maybe they should just go to the Krispy Kreme planet next time and protect the Krispy Kreme planet.
Or fight a Krispy Kreme monster.
They had to have fought in a donut monster. At some
I imagine.
Point. I could only imagine it's got to have or some pastry-based villain. But yeah, anyway, the Zords themselves, the individual Zords, I wish they would have gotten a redesign, because it's still kind of in motion, they look like Transformers.
They're a little clunky.
To the point where the Tyrannosaurus actually throws a Camaro, and I thought, huh, that's the exact Bumblebee car, and he even makes the joke, sorry Bumblebee, and I'm like, oh, don't reference that movie right now, because that's what you're reminding me of.
Yeah.
And it's not as bad as Transformers, but it's still I wish I could tell a little bit more what was going on, because it was at first, sometimes I thought oh, they're shooting stuff, because the guns coming out of their Zords is so mished with everything else. I couldn't tell they were shooting stuff until a half second after I saw them. I was like, oh, they have guns on them and they're shooting putties. It's interesting to see did the mammoth ever look like a mammoth to you?
No, never.
The black Zord is the worst.
I thought it actually was a beetle.
The Triceratops sometimes looks like a Triceratops. The best ones are the pterodactyl and the Tyrannosaurus. They actually look like they're actual animals, what they're supposed to look like.
I feel like you saw the saber with the least amount, though. I mean, it actually, from the scenes I remember, it looked fine, but it seems like you don't see it a lot.
I don't think you see it.
But I honestly forgot what the black Zord was supposed to be. I'm like, is it a beetle? I think it's a beetle.
It's just because it has the problem of there's so much crap on it, and all the other colors are primary colors, and they stand out.
Whereas black is the absence of color.
It all blends together, and it's all one big black mass of shape. It looks like the Venom symbiote went over a fucking robot, and I was just like, man, this would have helped out with a simpler design so that I could see what the fuck this thing was. But then they have a big fight. They're fighting Goldar and the putties and stuff, and it culminates with they have to, of course, call the Megazord, which is the thing we're all waiting for. And I was just like, ugh, this Megazord battle is really boring.
Yeah.
It slows everything down to make a big kaiju battle out of it. It's way slower than the Zord fight. The robot still looks even worse than the Zords do.
Well, it's just, for some reason, it has no color, which still doesn't make any sense.
God damn, it is boring looking. It is so fucking boring looking.
It actually looks like a less colorful Optimus Prime.
Yeah, I would actually take a Transformers robot rather than this thing. I would take the Pacific Rim any of the Pacific Rim bots any day. But yeah, they have a final fight scene with that. And you see the cameo in the crowd, like at the very near the end. The original Green Ranger and the original Pink Ranger, where the actors were actually in the crowd, in the front taking pictures. Yeah, they had Tommy Oliver and Kimberly, the original ones, in there to take pictures of them. I think it was Amy Jo Johnston was the original Pink Ranger, and what was it? Jason David Frank is the original Green Ranger.
That's cool.
So maybe even more in that scene crowd, but I think those are the only ones I recognized. But yeah, so that was neat. And yeah, it ends with I guess we went into a spoiler talk on this one, but
there's not much. The third act isn't much of a spoiler because we know what's going to happen.
Yeah, so I thought that was neat. Yeah, so like I was really enjoying the movie, and then like I kind of petered off like at the very end, where I was just like, okay, we had to hit this eventually, but this is fine, I guess. And then, it was like the Power Rangers battle was like, they're like, okay, this is cool. And then it was like the Zords were like, oh, okay, well, this is like a little bit less. And then the Zord battle was just like, okay, this is just straight up boring.
Yeah.
And so like, it's not a good way to like constantly get less interesting throughout your final fight. So that's not a good scenario for you to have. But the rest of the film really carried me through that. I was like having such a good time. I was in the right mindset to not be as bothered by it. So, we want to give some final ratings.
Plus, we kind of saw it coming. I mean,
sure,
it wasn't a surprise.
Like we all knew the score, like it was going to go this way. But, yeah, I think I'm going to give this film. It was actually it was like a 4 out of 5 for me for the longest time. It was just like, wow, this is surprisingly good. There's some missteps here, but nothing really bad. That final like half hour to like, especially the last 10 minutes, I'm just kind of like, yeah, this is a step down, and I gotta dock you some points on it, but I don't want to dock a full point, so I want to give it a 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
I think. I want to give it, it definitely gets above average, that's for sure. If you're a Power Rangers fan, definitely check it out. It's gonna, well, maybe you...
Yeah, it's hard to tell, actually.
It actually depends, because they don't really do any of the Power Rangers shit until the last half hour.
Yeah.
And even then, it's not that... Like, I don't find it that particularly compelling, but other people that might be their favorite part of the movie. So it's actually kind of hard sell on that. I don't know, what would you give it?
Well, I actually really love the beginning of this movie so much because I love character pieces. It's one of my favorite things. I like how dark the movie gets at times.
Man, it does get dark.
It gets super dark, and it's actually kind of awesome for that reason. This is probably a higher score than it really deserves, but I'm probably going to give it a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
I thoroughly enjoyed most of this movie.
Yeah, it was really fun. I think that's a very fair rating.
Like, I do hope, like, I'm assuming they're doing a sequel, at least I kind of hope they do. I'm assuming that they're going to try, I hope they do more martial arts, though, in the next one, because that was what most of the montage was, like, we're going to, like, fast learn martial arts, and then they kind of didn't do much martial arts. I'm like, oh, that's a little disappointing.
Yeah, I think the next one could be real fun. We'll have to see how this film does in the box office. Because we were saying earlier in the show, it wasn't doing that great.
No.
But the toys could help it out. Could help pad some of that. And then with that, we will come back with a spoiler. Should we do a spoiler section for some of the other plot points, or are we good?
Why don't we just do the stinger?
Just the stinger?
The stinger, I think we good. Because
Okay.
otherwise, most of the stuff we shouldn't spoil because it is kind of a right in the moment, oh my god, that happened.
Right. Okay, so with that, we will bring this episode to an end. And if you are interested in the spoiler section, join us after the credits here, and we will go into that. But first off, thank you for listening, and you guys are absolutely fantastic. Our listeners, the best listeners in the world, as I always said.
Of course.
I've done an experiment. I've captured one of our listeners, done some experiments on them. They are indeed the best listeners in the world, from my findings.
You let him out, right?
It depends. Did we check? You might want to check the basement?
Oh, shit. Let's finish it. Let's wrap it up.
All right, we'll wrap it up. We gotta go save Jeff. But anyway, we of course, if you want to help out us as well as Jeff, give us a 5-star review on iTunes, and we will read whatever goes in that review box on the air, word for word. That's my guarantee. Helps us out with, that visibility and all that good jazz. Hit us up on Facebook if you want to tell us about what you thought about the films. What you thought about Ghost in the Shell or Power Rangers or any other whitewashing films. That's our expertise, apparently, for today. Man, I don't want that to be our expertise. No, never mind. I don't want that. But yes, if you want to talk with us about that, you can hit up with a message on Facebook, or give us a like while you're there. You can give us an email at unapologeticgeekout@gmail.com. Leave a comment on our website, unapologeticgeekout.com. Or you can always follow us on Twitter at UGO Podcast or Instagram. That's the same thing. We do a lot of convention stuff. All our pictures of all that is up on there, so that's a good time. And with that, I think we can just we can wrap this one up, and we are done going.
I guess we're getting.
So go Unapologists. We are Unapologetic Geek Out, and we're out. All right, everyone, back for the spoiler section, because we are going to spoil the ending of Power Rangers in 3, 2, 1, go. They win. But no, seriously. They one of the things I wanted to bring up was I like the fact that there's some neat filmmaking going on where they actually kill Billy throughout the middle of the film.
They can't kill Billy. He's like the best character.
And yeah, Rita's got him all trapped up. She drowns Billy, basically just because she's being a bitch. I love that it's like she lets most of them live because of her bitchiness, and it's interesting to see. And I like that scene beforehand where she beats their asses when they're unmorphed, and just like, oh, you guys are so cute. I'm gonna proceed to kick the shit out of you now. Anyway, they kill Rita, or no, they kill Billy, or she kills Billy, and she walks off, and they go to try and save Billy. They bring him to the command center, and Zordon decides, like, since the power morpher, the morphing grid has finally come back online, he decides to sacrifice his own chance to come back to life in order for Billy to survive. And I thought that was really nice. It encapsulates the Rangers don't have a personal investment in fighting Rita up until this point.
Right.
Now there's a personal investment for them fighting because she killed one of their friends. It's now personal for them. Also, it brings up the trust of Zordon with the team giving up because they mistrust him. Like they think the only reason he wants them to morph is so he can come back to life.
Yep.
It builds a trust between the mentor and the team. It builds more of a connection with the villain. It was all done with this one plot point. And it cements them together more as a team too, and unlocks their ability to morph. Mm-hmm. As far as filmmaking goes, I just did not expect that level. Like it's not, reinventing the wheel or anything.
No, it's pretty common.
I mean, it's common in good movies. That's what we like in good movies, like this level of filmmaking. But in a Power Rangers film, it was just like, wow, this is really good. Mm-hmm. Like this is a good plot point, and it was weaved together in a very believable way, where you believed everything that was happening to a point where like you're emotionally invested with all this. And I was just like, wow, I can't believe the Power Rangers adaptation has this much nuance and level of quality on it. Like, not to disparage the 90s show, it was good for what it was. It was good for what it was, which was sugary entertainment. Mm-hmm. But there was never any sense of like, actual weight of character development on it. Like every once in a while it might, get close to something like that. But
the Green Ranger betrayed us. No.
Yeah, every once in a while it would do that, but I found like, wow, that's really shocking how the level of care and attention that went into that moment. I thought that was really good. But yeah, anyway, it leads into into our final battle, which we've already talked about. But after that, we have the Stinger, which it introduces Tommy Oliver's chair.
They're all in detention again.
Mm-hmm. So they're showing Tommy Oliver, right? Like, I guess there's like in the sequel casting call open, guys. Who wants to play Tommy Oliver? Yep. There's even a rumor going around now that they want Tommy Oliver. Like, there's a big fan petition, like, make Tommy Oliver a chick. So I'm like, oh, maybe,
whatever.
Like Tommy with an I.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I really thought the Stinger would have been like some sort of, because Rita gets bitch slapped up into space. Mm-hmm. I thought it really was going to be some sort of like Lord Zed's ship, like some sort of Z ship.
Kind of surprised it
wasn't. We would have saw some sort of staff in that Z thing. Because I thought like he's the villain that we all know Rita, but then the second villain we all know is Zed, and Zed has always had the coolest fucking design. Where he's like that. He's like a muscle and it's like he got his skin taken off.
Yeah.
But he's also
got like armor on.
But he also has like armor bones on the outer part of it. I don't know what he is. All I know is that it looks badass. Like he's out of a metal album cover. Like he's something weird out of it.
That isn't he like one of the most powerful villains?
Oh yeah, he's like the Lord of all evil. Like he's literally the Lord of evil. He's like the Satan of their universe. Like the only reason he doesn't straight up kill the Rangers is that he just doesn't feel like they're worthy of his time. Like he's supposed to like, no, I'm supposed to delegate this. Like he's got the underlings that he uses. So yeah, I'd expect to see him in the sequel, or if not, just maybe an evil version of Tommy Oliver before he joins the team, you know?
Well, it could just be like Lord Zed gets to him first, or Tommy decides, like, to be fair, they could just make it like, okay, you want me to just join your group? I don't want to do that because I don't know you fucking people. Like, that would be really easy, and then they could have them fight each other.
Yeah, something to do, because, Rita being the original Green Ranger, they had to tie that in somehow. So I don't know if, like, Zed finds her body and gives her the coin to Tommy or something.
No, they have the coin.
Oh, do they have the coin?
I think they have the coin.
Okay, I forget. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Anything else we want to cover in the spoiler corner?
Nope,
we're good?
Might as well just go tell it on the mountain.
Yeah, just tell it on the mountain. Referencing. But yeah, again, thank you so much for joining us for the spoiler section, and we'll see you next week. We are Unapologists Geek Out, and
we're out again.
We're out again.
Double out.
Double out. Double impact.